All right. Now, I know that Russ and I kind of like it when somebody wants to watch us in the shower, but you probably don't. Or maybe you do. I don't know. But today, I found out after I read a story about people and Airbnbs getting spied on with spy cams that you could buy all kinds of spy gear for almost nothing. And the world certainly has no shortage of pervy types. So I brought my collection of spy cams to show you and to talk a little bit about how you might want to defend yourself when you're in a dressing room, a hotel, a rented space, because this is getting more popular. So it's not easy, but if you'll strategize, think a little bit, situational awareness, all that good stuff, you might be able to stay off the live cam unless you really want to be on one, in which case you could do it yourself and make money. So stick around for This Week on SDL.
This is a Security Weekly production.
Welcome to Secure Digital Life. Welcome to Secure Digital Life. .1, 99.2, 99.3, 100. He's making the gangland symbol for 100, which is also a really nasty word in American Sign Language. Animal plasma.
Oh.
Yummy. Boy, I bet that's a fun place to work. He'll be on head cleaning duty or something like that.
Headcleaningduty.com.
You have to wipe the drool off his frozen head once a day or something like that. Or chip it. I don't know.
I heard you were watching some inappropriate content last night. Yeah. Meet you out in the quad at noon.
That's right.
So, anyway.
Accredited by Microsoft, Cisco, NetApp, IDLE, Oracle, and EC Council, QuickStart delivers high-impact, low-cost IT training through its cognitive learning platform in multiple domains. With QuickStart, you get an ever-growing catalog of courses, self-paced courses offered through a monthly subscription, virtual classrooms offered through an annual subscription, peer-to-peer learning, mentoring, official courses, certified instructors, hands-on labs, and more. For more information, visit www.quickstart.com. Use coupon code PAUL20 to get 20% off on all cybersecurity courses. Quick Start, creating world-class technologists. Considering a career in IT but not sure where to start? Start for free with IT Pro TV. Access more than 65 hours of IT training for free, no credit card required, with a free membership. When you're ready for more, explore the full IT Pro TV library, including training for CompTIA, Cisco, Microsoft, Apple, and more. Learn IT, pass your cert, and get a great job. Start your free IT Pro TV membership today. Visit www.securedigitallife.com/IT Pro TV. All right. You should register for our upcoming webcast with Observe TV and Kaseya by going to securityweekly.com/webcast.
I think it was Observe It. It was Observe It.
Oh, it's Observe It. I'm sorry. I call it, whatever. I call it Observe IT. It's like almost the same thing. It's spelled the same. Like, I know it means something bad in Farsi.
Actually,
but that's
you said
okay.
Observe TV.
I said Observe TV? Okay, well, whatever I said,
we got you
wrong.
back.
Okay, I've been corrected. It's like...
We got you back.
Yeah. If you have missed any of our previously recorded webcasts, you can find our on-demand library at securityweekly.com/on-demand, as you might guess. Some of you told us that you're overwhelmed by the amount of content that we distribute. And in an attempt to make your life a little easier for you to find out what you're interested in, we've created our new listener interest list. Sign up for our list and select your interests by visiting securityweekly.com/subscribe and clicking the button to join the list. You can also now submit your suggestions for guests in our recently released guest suggestion form. Go to securityweekly.com/guests and enter your suggestions. Possibly we'll take them. I don't know. It could happen. All right. So way back when the first Minox Cam ever came out, that was in like the 50s, and James Bond in the 60s was using Minox cams to sneak past the guards and snap little pictures of files of those little teeny cameras that they used to make that were really bad and took terrible pictures despite what everybody believed. I'm sure that Jeff Mann and some of those people were using them at the NSA, but back in the 40s or whenever it was Jeff was there. I'm sorry, Jeff. But Mr. Bond has made a lot of inroads in how to capture pics and footage, all the while having a nice drink in the bar downstairs. Because even if you have your phone, which has a nice camera in the back of it as well, which you can very easily snap pictures of secret Russian files and whatnot, you have to be there in person.
And the phone does OCR now, too.
It does. The phone can read text. It can do all kinds of tricks for you. But all that notwithstanding, now you can sit in the bar downstairs, have a martini, all the while capturing footage of what's going on up in your room. So over at number 10 Downing Street, you just stand out on the street. You got pictures. If you're outside of Mar-a-Lago, you can have a drink on the street and capture all the deets from inside, all that good stuff. Today's mini cams can live stream over the interweb. They can stream onto your phone from a shorter distance. They can do just about anything. It's amazing what these things can do. So I actually brought some in to show you, some of my homemade spyware and some stuff that I bought. And now all the stuff that I'm going to show you today cost about $100. Total. So not each, like total. So this stuff, the price on this stuff has gotten so cheap that you're going to see more of it as you go along. So I was going to show you my cams first. So this one is one of my favorites, and I didn't actually touch it up. But this is a Cisco book, an old one, and I actually learned that it's really hard to drill holes in books. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but then it got a little out of hand, and there was almost a lot of blood and teeth, hair, and eyeballs and stuff. I was trying to drill the book from the wrong side. And then
that's what happens when you drill from the wrong side.
I went in through the spine. But I actually took a camera that is Wi-Fi enabled. So this will stream to your iPhone. You can connect to it, and it's got a little camera dot right there. And in fact, if you turn it on, you can actually turn the light on.
Oh, yeah, you can see it on the camera.
Is it on now? Yeah. So when you turn the light on, it actually does night vision too. Now, obviously, somebody might see that, the light that's in the book.
You put a polarizing filter over it. You're good.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't even think about it. Somebody's been thinking this through. I'm going to turn it back off again if I can.
It's off.
Yeah, okay, good. So now that's one of the catches is all these can be plugged in, but they don't have massive battery life if you're using them without being plugged into something. But this thing's got a huge cable, and so you can stretch it across the room to a plug and put it behind books or whatever and set this book on your bookcase and see what's going on. I made another one. This one is an air freshener container. And
I know where that's going, right in the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got a little camera right in here, and the camera inside is just teeny that sits right in the front of this. And this camera has a Wi-Fi. It also has a micro SD card you can put into it, so it can capture, and you can plug it in too. So you could do a little more work on it and feed a cord to it, feed the cord through the back. I just got bored trying to fool with that. So again, a little small camera like that. And then I made a cigar box camera in honor of Stogie Geeks. So this is actually a nice wooden cigar box from Punch, and there's a camera hole right here in the front. And again, you could very easily disguise these a lot more than I did, but I wanted them to show up on camera. And then inside of it, it's full of cigars. Yeah. So if somebody looked in the box, they would just see cigars. But there's another camera here. This is a little round camera that would fit in many, many places that you probably wouldn't want. And I had a few I didn't actually do anything with. So this is one of these. This is called an endoscopic camera.
Yeah. And yes, that's what they use.
Oh, yeah.
It's
waterproof, so you could do all kinds of weird things with it, depending on how versatile you are. But this thing is really scary to me because these kind of cams they have a very, and you can get them a lot longer than this, too. You can get a really, I saw some that were like double and triple the length of this. They cost more. And again, this one has a light on it if you want to use the light, but you can turn the light off, too. If you flip it on, you can see the little light. I think you can you see it? Yeah, there it is. And it would let you actually see what's going on in the world. So, but you can use it without the light too if there's enough ambient light in the room. You could feed it. I don't even want to talk about all the places you could feed it through, but pipes, drains,
toilets.
Well, obviously the purpose of it is to like examine like electrical conduit and look down inside of walls and all kinds of cool stuff with that. But again, same thing. And then this is probably my favorite spy cam of all. So this thing right here, which is going to be hard to see, it's a charger. Plugs in the wall. You can plug your iPhone into it. And there's a little, and I know you can't see it, but there's a little teeny camera dot right there that actually is a wide angle lens and will capture not great quality, not as good as the one in the cigar box. The cigar box is probably the best quality camera but it will actually capture stuff. And I was thinking about this because of stuff that came up. Russ is going through the accessories for the cam, of which there are numerous.
This one here, I guess, somehow fits on. Oh, yeah, it fits right here.
It goes right
it's
on
a mirror.
the end. And it's a mirror so you can see around corners.
Yeah, you see around corners, exactly.
There's also
I don't know what else
this is a hook, so there's a little thing you can hook this camera up on something.
Oh, it's for hookers.
You put the mirror on it, and then you hook it on a shelf or something, and you can see. And
this is a magnet?
one, I have no idea what this one does.
Why would they seal that like that?
I do not know what the purpose. I think this is it's to stick it on again with the mirror. So you stick it on something that's metal, and it would cling to it, and you've got
definitely cool, super cool stuff.
Yeah, it's super cool stuff, but it's also really scary stuff because it means that one of the things you need to be aware of as you go to various places around the world, all of a sudden you don't have to be a member of SMERSH. You know what SMERSH?
No.
SMERSH was in the old James Bonds. They were the bad guys. SMERSH was like the evil group from Russia.
Well, from like Russia with Love, like that.
Yeah, they were like SMERSH was like the bad guys.
I thought it was Goldfinger. And,
well, those were the names of the bad guys. But SMERSH was the Russian agency that was putting people out to kill Bond.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was what it was called. SMERSH. It stood for something, but I don't remember what it was. But anyway, so those are some cam setups that it took me $100 and about an hour to actually assemble my collection of cams. And obviously I could sit down with these and make them even more subtle if I made a slight effort to do so, because I made literally no effort to touch that up. I mean, I could put a little touch up on there to make where I tore the book by trying to drill it. And
but these are so small, you don't even need to put them in anything.
No, literally.
You could put it on the shelf in the corner.
I can just literally take this, and it's just sitting I feed it in between some actual books.
And now it's even more inconspicuous. So.
Yeah, and it's just laying there, and you're not going to see it. And like I say, you can feed it into I saw ones that would fit into an electrical plate.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
So the little it's just like this, but there's little tiny cameras actually built into the electrical plate. There was one built into a clock, so it was like a digital clock you could set beside the bed, and it's got a little camera in it. And they're all sold as like nanny cams, security cams, see what's going on. And I think you're going to see more of this because what people are doing with it, if you have been under a rock, is they stream this onto websites and they capture footage and they post it on revenge porn sites. They post it on just general porn sites and all kinds of stuff without people's express permission. I mean, if you want to be in a pornographic movie, I'm sure that you can probably get work, but most people are not really excited about being in pornographic movies or having these cams. I also saw one that was a coat hook that you could stick on the wall, and one that was a hinge that was actually designed to match the hinges on stalls in bathrooms.
Wow.
And they even had different models that were designed for certain standard kind of bathroom stalls. So you could go in a bathroom stall and replace. I mean, I was like, what?
So let me ask a question here, okay? So one of the reasons that we thought about doing this was because there's been a lot of press lately, specifically around renting houses websites,
Airbnb,
like Airbnb or whatever, and so a lot of people who have rented houses have found these devices in their rental spaces. Now, when I think if I'm an Airbnb host, okay, or any host, doesn't have to be Airbnb, and I rent out my house, what kind of law is there where I want to make sure that my renters don't get drunk and then set the place on fire? And what kind of protection do the Airbnb people have for? And can they employ this technology?
So what I found was that Airbnb didn't allow people to do this.
Okay.
So they had you had to sign an agreement that you don't have cams and things like that. Law wise, good luck. I think it would come. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I think some of it would come down to intent.
Yep.
So if you are, if you're camming people when they're getting undressed or they're in the bathroom or whatever, well, there's no good reason for them to.
Well, no.
Yeah. I mean, so, obviously you can call the police and that's what you should do.
Yep.
But I think as far as just putting up security cams on property that you own, it's kind of your right to do so. And I mean, I would say that if you notified people there were cams in the property, they probably wouldn't stay there.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think a lot of people would avoid that. So I think
unless you're a voyeur.
Well, I mean, unless you want to be
play,
cammed, in which case you probably would get some people who want that kind of thing, because I'm sure there are such
pay
people.
Extra money.
Oh yeah, I was like, pay extra for like how will you stream this live?
How deep inside the body do you want to go?
Oh yeah, it's like,
we'll need this camera.
Yeah, you're going to need that and some other stuff to make sure it goes.
Oh,
right.
we have the 10-gallon.
Yeah, we have a 55-gallon drum.
Oh yeah, 55.
Animal plasma and animal lube, which all can be used. And
good God.
Okay,
the show gets dark.
Oh, let me tell you. But hey, what you can do with a little
animal plasma.
I'm not going to get into the butter and cream stuff, but anyway. But you may run into this.
Yeah.
Like I say, I think mostly what we're talking about is people wanting to do this for illicit purposes. But beyond the sex stuff, which it's hard to get beyond the sex stuff, the other reasons people like to do this kind of stuff is they can capture information from you.
Yeah.
If I could put a cam in a convenient spot where I thought people were going to sit and capture them typing in their passwords on their phones, oops, you've got a big problem.
Ceiling cams, you know.
So I could put these things literally anywhere. They're all battery driven. They all use Wi-Fi, and most of them have anywhere from 30 to 50 meters of range. I was still picking this yellow one up way outside my office. I turned it on, and I was still streaming it onto my phone. Like I walked almost all the way back to my house, and I was still seeing the cam. It did start to fade out. It was probably out there. It says 30 meters on the spec, but I was probably out there around. Or I'm sorry, it said 10 meters on the spec. I was probably out there around 30 meters. I was getting pretty far away from it, and the signal started to degrade. Yeah. The quality wasn't huge, but if I was really trying to watch people, so there's a lot of different scenarios in the world where you want to watch for cams, and it's a tough thing to watch for. I think you're going to see people slapping cams, and the one in the cigar box actually came with a set of magnets to allow you to stick it up in all kinds of different places. So it's actually got a magnet on the back of it, and it came with little stick-on plates you could stick onto walls or whatever you wanted to do. And oh boy, so now so where all can you do this? So we wanted to walk through some strategizing that you might take as you go out in the world and you start thinking about cams. Now that we made you good and paranoid about this, so my number one way to look for these was with were you looking for a cam?
Yeah, actually, I thought the Morley box, right?
I know
from CSM.
I was gonna put a camera in the Morley box. Yeah. But I didn't want to ruin it. So the Morley box was actually apparently used on an actual episode of X-Files somewhere, was what the guy told me. He's probably lying, but it's an actual box of Morley's from there. One of the things that I noticed immediately about all the cams was that you could see them on Wi-Fi. So they all had names specific to that cam. So if you look up in the instructions for these cams, they all tell you what the app name is when you actually install. I don't know what this one was, but they were all stuff.
A lot of QM too.
Yeah, they had. Yeah, so they've got all kinds of
QR. Excuse me.
Yeah, the QR code. But they also had the list of the this
SSID.
one is NIDAJ.
Yeah.
And one of them said HD cam, and so you can actually look on your Wi-Fi. So if you just switch the settings and search for Wi-Fi's around you, you may want to look for unusual things. Now this one would be a little hard, but it didn't say Netgear, it didn't say Linksys, it didn't say Cisco. It said something strange, so you could quickly Google the names of any Wi-Fi, especially if you got good strong signals from them.
And I don't think these are changeable. So
yeah, they are.
Oh, they are changeable.
But the yellow one was changed. You could rename the SSID to anything you want. Yeah. So I would, of course, rename it to Cisco.
Yeah, of course, or Linksys or Netgear or whatever.
But I would immediately do that if you want to walk into a space, and none of them had huge range. So if somebody's actually got the signal now, if they're cutting holes through walls and stuff, good luck. It's going to be tricky because, like I say, these are really long. So these long cables mean they could actually run it through a conduit or something and feed it in there. So one thing to do right away is to look for Wi-Fi signals that might actually look suspicious, especially if you're in a house where there's not a lot of other signals, but if you're in a hotel and there's a lot of other signals around. But again, you can certainly look and see if you see these signals. You might want to Google the name of the signal you see, because if you Google that default name and you find it immediately in a set of instructions for a webcam, well, guess what? There's probably a cam right there. If the person's having to do this nearby, it's even trickier.
If you're an Android user, Okay, I'm an iOS user, so I'm out of luck, although there are some options. I just looked. Android has a free tool you can download in the Google Play Store called Wi-Fi Analyzer. It's called exactly that, Wi-Fi Analyzer, and it's free. And what it does is it scans all your surrounding area for wireless networks, and they'll give you the SSIDs, even supposedly for hidden ones. And, so however that works, it does. But that might be a good tool for you to use. There's some, I just looked in the App Store on iOS, and there were a few, but none of which I've used before. So there was a Wi-Fi network analysis, Wi-Fi anywhere, Wi-Fi sweet spot. So use, and free is fine. Use some sort of free analyzer or pay for it, whatever, just to be safe around you.
There's also what's called a bug sniffer. I forgot it. I actually have a bug sniffer. It cost about $35, and all it does is it detects Wi-Fi signals and shows you the strength of them. So you can walk around the place and find where the Wi-Fi signal is coming from, and that works really well. Wow. That I actually tried that at home, and I meant to bring it. I literally forgot it. It's just a little box you carry around like you see in the movies. And it literally detected all of these cams. So when I turned them on, it got really strong when you got close to them. So it let me home in on the cam. So I don't say don't get one of those. I mean, there's $30, and you can carry it around with you. It's USB rechargeable, and you can take it in a hotel or a rental property, and you can use that to see if you can find any signals that shouldn't be there.
If you're traveling with that, though, what would TSA? What do you think TSA would do? Nothing.
It's like a transistor radio. I mean, what are they going to? It's not dangerous. Okay. I mean, I don't think they would do anything. Okay. The only thing I ever got in trouble with them was a guitar pedal. I was going to get strip searched. They called the bomb squad. It was crazy. And then finally that guy convinced the guy to get the supervisor in there. I was like, could you just get somebody that actually, and he was like, and he called the supervisor, and the guy was like, yeah, it's a guitar pedal. What's the matter with you? And then they had to call the bomb squad and all this stuff. It was crazy. It was literally nuts. It was like idiots on parade. But, I was like, it's a guitar pedal. Yeah. Take it apart. And the guy was like, I'm sorry, I have to call the bomb squad. He was like, I saw this. He's like, I don't know what it is. And his supervisor was like, what are you, stupid? He's like, it's a guitar pedal. It's a tube screamer. I was like, yeah, take the case apart. There's nothing inside of it. It's a circuit board. I'm like, it went through your scanner. I'm like, what is your problem? But anyway, you know how that is. The other thing to look for, of course, is lights. This is pretty dramatic. Yeah. But all these cams have some kind of light on them. Whether it's just a power light. This one actually, there's a little, I know you can't see this, but there's a little blue and green light on the side of the case here. One of the things I always suggest to people that are searching for bugs and things is to turn off the lights and just sort of look around and see if you see any strange LED lights in a space. So if you see a red light or a green or a blue light or something in a room and you go, what is that? You at least can walk over to it and look and see, is there a camera? Is it the power supply? And you can check things like this out and say, is that got a camera in it? And if you look at it carefully, this one's really hard to see.
Because it's polarized.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to see the little teeny pinhole camera in there. You can maybe spot that. So turn off the lights and take a quick scan and see if you see what's going on, especially if you got a sniffer or something like that.
Yeah, but also keep in mind, 3 cents of electrical tape will hide any kind of those power.
Oh yeah, lights. If they thought about it. I mean, like I say, all this stuff can easily be adapted to be incredibly difficult to find. Now, again, my Wi-Fi sniffer is going to point you right to it. The electrical tape's not going to hide it, but again, they can if they take the other end of it and pull it through a concrete wall, it's going to be really, really hard to find. So that brings you to situational awareness. So if it's really a security cam and it's on the front door of the premises, okay. If it bothers you, put a piece of tape over it or something. But if you're trying to spot perv cams like we're sort of talking about, or even people trying to get your passwords or your PIN numbers, think about where the camera's got to be. None of these cameras is great. They do make really good ones, though. It was a lot more money, like $400, $500 for the same kind of setup that had a much higher quality camera. Yeah. They've got to put the cameras somewhere they're going to get something worthwhile to them. I mean, watching you carry your bags through the front door is not going to be real excited, except on the really strangest perv sites. I mean, I guess there's somebody with like a luggage fetish or something. It's like,
hey, want to see white people, carrying
I want to see people with their carry-on bags.
Those damn Americans.
Yeah. But most of these cases, they're going to be wanting to put them in bedrooms and bathrooms and places where they are dressing rooms, things like that. So changing rooms at the beach are really popular. I did some quick Google searches. So, There's all kinds of sites that are dedicated to what they called upskirt cams and stuff like that.
They were putting them on their shoes, if I remember correctly.
I mean, people used to put mirrors on their shoes.
Yeah.
I remember, I went to the high school hygiene lecture, and they're like, ladies, now remember at the dance, if you see people with mirrors on their shoes, it's like, what? How could that do anything? But you could put a cam on your shoe. These are all bad, or you could put it. I guess we're making suggestions now, but
No, not.
Yeah,
not for me.
But think about situational awareness. Where would they put these cams? They're going to be pointed at spaces they think somebody's going to change. They're going to have to be pretty close to something. They're going to have lighting. If none of that stuff is present, the image is going to be so blurry and grainy that you're not, even if they see you, nobody's going to know what it is. It's just going to be like a blob. I did some experiments, and I won't share them with you. But even with the lights on these cameras in the dark, it was a pretty grainy. I mean, if you've ever seen those weird sex tape things or the pictures of Paris Hilton where her eyes are glowing and all that.
Because it was green or
night
vision.
Like a night vision cam and all this kind of
stuff.
We
haven't seen that, by the way.
I just saw the still of it, actually. They always had that still up. Yeah, right. Nobody ever watched that video. But the bottom line is that they put these cams in places where people are going to change. So changing rooms and things like that. Bedrooms. So one of the things that you can think about in your assessment of the situation is looking at just those spaces. Yeah. So go in those spaces, turn off the lights if you can, and just take a quick scan around the room and look for, do you see any glowing objects? Do you see any lights or anything like that? Some of these cams, the night vision lights come on automatically if it gets dark, so they pop on, and then it's like, oh, there's a camera right there.
I've also heard people taking flashlights, and when they shut the lights off in the room, and then they show with the flashlight,
so
see for a reflection.
That was my next suggestion, was take a really bright LED flashlight, which are little small ones that you can buy for almost nothing, and literally use that directed thing to look at around the room. And then you may well see the reflection of the lens. These kind of lens reflections up somewhere. And I mean, again, this is something you'd have to practice a little bit to get any good at it. But I mean, if you get situational awareness, you can actually start, I think, doing that kind of thing. So maybe you can see where there might be a cam. Now, the other part of this is, don't forget, look up and look down, because putting a cam above a bed or in the upstairs in the bathroom, this one has a fisheye lens. So did the one in the cigar box.
Wide angle.
So you're getting this very big, wide view. I was just looking at the fan in the studio. There's a fan way over there. I was like, what a great place to stick a camera would be, behind the little middle of the fan there. You don't cut your hands off when you're trying to do this, of course. Although if you're a perv, I hope you do cut your hands off when you're trying to do that. But try to think about that and look if you see anything unusual. And really this comes down to, do you see something unusual? Yeah. If you see something even remotely looking suspicious, the other place I saw to put them was smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and other common, and phone chargers. Very common objects that you see in almost every place, but also places you just didn't look. I was in a rental property. I knew the guy who owned it. Actually, I'd stayed there a lot of times. He left a laptop sitting on the desk. I mean, it was his laptop. The laptop's got a camera in it. Now, I just went and closed the laptop, and he wasn't actually trying to do anything with it. I called him and said, your laptop's here, and he was like, oh, can I come get it? And I was like, yeah, sure. But I mean, if you walk in someplace and there's a webcam on a PC, there's a laptop, or even an old phone sitting in the corner, that stuff that could stream video, it can be accessed remotely, and then you've got a problem. Even DVRs and VCRs and other devices like that, all those things can have cameras attached to them. So you really have to be careful about that. One other thing to look for is anything out of place, like a cigar box. I mean, in my office, there's cigar boxes around, a whole bunch of them, because I don't know what to do with them. But in an apartment or something where there's no smoking allowed and there's a cigar box, there's one made into a soda can, a bottle. I actually was going to try that. The bottle broke. It didn't work. I was seeing if I could drill a hole in a glass bottle, but yeah, I'm sure you can.
You can.
You
need
right
a special drill bit.
And I was like, I'm going to die here, so I quit doing it. The teddy bear cams. They're all kinds of children's toys. They're called nanny cams. Yep. You can buy them at Walmart. Yep. And they're all Wi-Fi enabled. So again, that sniffer is one of my favorite things that was how I started doing this originally. The sniffer is also really good for like ATM machines and things like that. I started getting worried about people putting cams like this at ATM machines, trying to get people's PIN numbers, because they can steal your card.
Skimmers.
with a skimmer, but they still need your PIN number. So if they can get your PIN number, they're sitting in a van across the street, you can certainly get that. So check your environment, pretty carefully. And then look through the normal items that are in the even a pillow. I mean, it would be so easy to stick this through a cushion.
A pillow cam.
A pillow cam. But I mean, I'm just
Don't
thinking
swallow the pillow, honey.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, we just got banned by the FCC. Sorry. This show has been canceled. But I mean, the truth is that putting this into decorative objects like tapestries, paintings, anything in the room would be really, I mean, even with my terrible craft skills, it would be really, really easy to do. So again, the way I catch this is, one, I can simply use my sniffer and I'm going to detect the signal, and it's going to home me right in on that painting that's like, why is there a Wi-Fi signal coming out of this painting? And I'm going to get pretty aggressive about finding it. Now, it may be something totally harmless, and I will warn you that if you destroy property that belongs to other people, you might want to read your rental agreement, because if it says you destroy something and they say it was a security cam, we bought it for security purpose, it wasn't turned on, and you took it out back and smashed it, you owe me $7,000. I don't know about that, but I would definitely check places up, down, all around, look around for obvious places where I could maybe put this, including drains. So this is waterproof. You could put it in a drain, and that's really frightening. So, you may want to check all that stuff out. Although, again, on me, it's kind of like, well, hi there. Hope you enjoy this. I'm going to wash the backside now. But the other one thing you can also do is turning off the Wi-Fi. I have seen some people recommending this, that when you go into these rental properties, just disconnect their Wi-Fi. If these things are streaming, that will stop that most likely.
But this one has an SD card, so it's recording
locally.
Well,
if it's an SD card, if it's connected to their iPhone and they're sitting downstairs in the bar, it's not going to do you any good to turn off the Wi-Fi. So, but the thing is that they have to be pretty close, and that may be a little more challenging. But then again, it's not. I mean, I can sit in a van outside, but I mean, it's like that's starting to get kind of out there for perv cams, because it's like, well, how, okay, we checked in.
There's a white windowless van in the street.
Yeah, we checked in, then we went to dinner. Then we came back and nobody actually changed. We just went to bed or whatever, and so it's going to get really boring and lonely sitting out there, and the battery's going to run down. And these didn't have much battery life. They were 30 minutes and stuff. So if you're running it purely off batteries, they're going to last very long. But you definitely got to look around for all this stuff. So you can just unplug that Wi-Fi router. I've seen other people talking about that, because they were actually they were shutting off Alexa and Sheila and all these other listening devices, the dots and all these things that listen to you, and or bugs. So some of this was real paranoid stuff, but they're definitely stuff like that. I did put a reference to Black Christmas in there, because that was the first movie I ever saw where somebody said the call is coming from inside the house.
I don't even remember that movie.
It's from 1974. It's a John Carpenter movie. It's a very, very famous film from way, way back when. But that was the first one. It was about a sorority house, and there's a scene where they say the call is coming from inside the house. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to search for these things if you don't want them to be pointed at you, because I think you're going to see it more and more. It's a bit scary to me to thought of trying to find them. I get calls a lot for people saying, have I been bugged, for the PI business? And they say, can you come scan for bugs at my house? It's definitely something worth worrying about. Now, the other strategy for this, of course, is to get all Amish about it. You can change in the dark. But my suggestion was not even so much to change in the dark, but it was, if you're really, really worried about this, find a place to change that maybe nobody was going to be looking.
Closet.
The walk-in closet, or just, but I mean, you say, well, I really wanted to shower. I decided I want to do, like a shower in the kitchen. That tends to get you, the damage deposit doesn't get refunded when you decide to do that. Although you might want to feel free doing that if they've got cams in the bathroom. You could go in the kitchen and say, yeah, unfortunately. I might actually find a way to get the camera really, really wet if it was in the bathroom. Like,
I know how to do that.
What a shame. It actually fell in the toilet. I knocked it off the back, and ruined it. But, I mean, that's definitely a thought if you're really, really worried about it. Honestly, if you're really worried about it, you may want to check out and not stay there anymore. I know that sounds lame, but I mean, there's so many ways I thought of I could do this. Whether it was a laptop, a phone, a cheap camera, an expensive camera, or even just a straight up security camera. The last thing I had was don't ignore those security cameras that they've got dome cameras or whatever in the house. You might actually want to seriously think about that and you can always just cover the camera too.
And another thing too is you and I, and together and separately, travel a lot all over the world, and just because the laws here locally don't necessarily support the installation of cameras in rental properties like this, doesn't mean in other countries that they're the same. And, they may have different laws in other countries that allow, renters to put in surveillance cameras. I don't know.
You definitely need to find out what the local laws are, because it's really complicated, especially if you start thinking about, I'm going to destroy this, I'm going to steal it, I'm going to do something to it. Person says, oh, that was my mother's. They used it for her medical treatment to make sure that, that the stent in her throat was okay, and we left it laying in a drawer and you threw it away. So, make sure it's actually being used. With all that in mind, what should you do? If you find a cam in a rental property, one, you should document it. I always take your phone and videotape where it was and that it was on and all this kind of stuff. I would not feel too uncomfortable about removing it if it's got an SD card or something in it. You can. I don't know what the law is, so you have to be careful about that. But if they're videotaping me on that, I'm a little concerned. You should definitely contact the hosting agency.
Airbnb.
So if it's
whatever,
Airbnb or HomeAway or whatever you're staying with, or even a hotel, you should definitely. And a hotel is going to probably have security on the premises. A lot of Airbnbs do too. If you stay in big buildings, you may want to tell them there's a camera in my Airbnb. But if you contact Airbnb, they will maybe do something. They may not. But they do have stuff in the agreements about what you can and can't do regarding cams. So if that's in there, you may want to actually contact them. Police, that one's going to be a tough one. If you call the police and say there's a security cam in my Airbnb, I don't know what the police are going to be able to do about that and what they would even consider doing about it, because I don't know that you've shown them a crime has been committed. So be careful about that. I will tell you, making a big fuss in a lot of rentals can cause a problem too. If some of the rentals I've stayed in, they had notes on the refrigerator that said, if anyone asks, tell them you're my cousin. And I'm like, so this is an illegal rental.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that if you do stay in one of those and you call building security and say, I'm renting this apartment, and they go, oh, you're getting kicked out now because this is illegal, and so be careful as you take action on this. Can you steal it? Can you take it with you? I don't know. I think that's a tricky one. If you take a $500 camera and you throw it out the window and say, I think they were spying on me, and it turns out that was just their high-end video camera that they left in their apartment, you're probably going to end up being liable for that. So I would be very, very, very careful about that. I would definitely contact the hosting people first and see what they tell you to do. If they say, I don't care what you do, or we don't know what to do, you may want to contact your attorney before you start throwing $500 or $600 Panaflexes out the window and go, I think they were spying on me. And they go, no, I'm a filmmaker. I left my project cam.
Film.
It had my whole that would be bad. Hopefully that made you a little paranoid. It made me paranoid just to study up on it a little bit. And I don't even really care about such things, but I would care about it if it was my daughter or it was some friend of mine. I certainly wouldn't want somebody doing that. I don't like the idea somebody's doing that to me. But the biggest strategy you're going to end up with is situational awareness. Yep. It's about looking around, seeing if you see things that are out of the ordinary. My guess is that in a lot of these cases, it's going to be stuff that's not very sophisticated. People didn't want to take the time. They were too busy getting all worked up about the fact they're going to put a spy cam up to worry too much about somebody finding it. But then again, that doesn't mean they won't. And that doesn't mean somebody's not going to sit down and make a really good Cisco book that really, I'm sure I could find a book somewhere that's got just the right lettering on it that I could drill a hole in the letter. And stick that camera in a place where you're not going to see it. And these cameras are going to get even smaller and more powerful very soon. So pretty soon you're going to have cameras that have massive range, can connect to the internet, be controlled over. They already have all that. You can control them over the internet. You can already buy kids' toys that you can drive via Wi-Fi around the house. They have those pet cams. I found one of those. It went into a little car. It had a cam on it like this. It had night vision. You could drive it around your house from anywhere in the world and look at it.
Wow. My
Ring doorbell means I can see who. I was checking up on the guys working on my property the other day to see if they were there, and I could see them out there working. They didn't know I was looking through the doorbell to see them. They were outside, so it's public space. But, all that stuff's so easy and so cheap that acquiring these things has now become kind of a frightening thought. So if you have thoughts about it, be sure and post comments. We'll be happy. We always answer comments and appreciate you giving us feedback. Please don't put up cams and spy on people because it's really sick. Really, come on, get a life.
Be a better human.
Yeah, but if you are doing this, you're staying in. And like I say, it doesn't have to be staying in rental units. It's dressing rooms, beach changing rooms,
Porta-johns.
Oh,
There's a sick fetish for you.
ooh, yeah. But this would work. Yeah, you're gonna have to get dirty to put it in. But
Might
hey,
as well
if you want
just
to do
hide
that,
in there.
just jump down in there. It's like Schindler's List. Just dive in, and stand around, and But yeah, this is getting off color. Actually, it was started off color, and now it's gotten off. I don't know where. But anyway, thank you for joining us for our Spy Cam Fetish Fest. We'll see you next time on Secure Digital Life.
Now let's go check that growth.
Yeah, we got to get